There we go. I needed that indicator. Good afternoon, everybody. We're gonna give a couple of minutes to get everybody in and we'll get started. All right. So I am Dr. Shannon Coleman. I am associate professor and state extension specialist at Iowa State University. Today I will be presenting about the part 2 of essential forms, current and pending, conflict of interest, biosketch, and statement of work. And so this is the second presentation on essential forms that you need to complete your proposals. All right, once again, as we always start, meet our team and hear more about our project. So this boot camp series is a collaboration between Texas Tech University, Alabama A&M University, and Iowa State. We were awarded a food safety outreach program technical assistance grant. And for this funding, we are targeting minority serving institutions and institutions that are collaborating with minority serving institutions. So listed here on this slide is our team members. So we have Dr. Angela Shaw, who's our principal investigator at Texas Tech University. Co-PIs for this project is Dr. Armitra Jackson Davis from Alabama A&M, Dr. Christine Strom from Engineering Science Editors, and myself, Shannon Coleman from Iowa State. All right, so our agenda for today, we'll be covering the following information. We will have a conversation about the importance of mandatory forms and any attachments for your USDA proposal and submission. And then we will specifically outline the following forms: current and pending, conflict of interest, biosketch, and statement of work. And so first we're going to talk about these forms. So your grant forms contain copies of federal forms currently used by awarding agencies to create a grant application package in grants.gov. These forms are used for pre and post reporting. These are both government-wide and agency-specific forms. We have standard forms, F424 or SF424 form families that represent government-wide standard data sets and forms for the grant application package that are developed in partnership with the federal grant-making agencies and the applicant community. The forms that discussed in this series will can be found on the repository that they have on grants.gov. For the forms that we'll be talking about today, on this, there's a website that I'm going to put in the resource tab that has number one, research and related senior/key personnel profile expanded, and that's your biosketch and current and pending. And then we have these are just another form could be the NIFA supplemental information, which is your conflict of interest form, which has a template to it. And then one that's not really on the website, it is just a supplemental form, but it's research and related budget form, which is your statement of work. And today we have examples and I have indicators of if there's a template. So on topics such as this one with biosketch, if you see a red box that say USDA has a template, means that USDA has a template. Do not go back and try to reformat or make something of your own. Look on the USDA website that we'll be providing to you to get the template and just go from there. So starting off with biosketch, all senior/key personnel, which includes the project directors, the co-PIs, senior associates, professional personnel, including subawardee personnel, have to fill out such forms. The the biosketch should present your academic and research credentials. This include education, training, research, professional experience, publication, and synergistic activities, honors, and awards. The biographical sketch has a limit of 2 pages, and that excludes publication. So the rule there is everything but publication needs to fit within those 2 pages. You can go beyond 2 pages with your publications. And so it took me a while for that to catch on. I kept saying, oh my God, I'm not 2 pages. But knowing that information is critical for you. You are able to go past those 2 pages with appropriate listing of publications. There are a limit when providing the most up-to-date referee publications. It's suggested that you do not go any further than 4 years. And this is where I have bumped my head. I bumped my head on this when we were preparing to submit for this grant publication that we're doing now. Dr. Shaw's grant office caught it and said, hey, get rid of everything before 2019. And so I had to go back and make those edits. Also on here, you want to list only non-referee technical publications that are relevant to the proposed project. So for my FSOP grants, I try to do papers that are related to the topic that I am addressing. When I'm doing multicultural scholars program, I do presentations and publications about working with minority students. So making sure that you're paying close attention to that, because this gives the reviewers a good insight on your experience and whether you're fit for that position. List the authors in order as they appear on paper, the title, and a complete reference as how it usually appears in the journal. So you want to make sure you're thorough and follow the way that the journal article is, the authors are listed on the actual reference in order to make sure that you're following the appropriate format. Other items to include, you can use your author identification, the ORCID. You can also use your digital objective identifier, the DOI, and if applicable, you can list data publication or published data products relevant to the proposed project. So I didn't have examples on Friday, but I have examples today. So this is the top of the bio sketch. So you can see here that we have the person's name, we have their education listed there. And then on the next slide, we have their research and professional experiences. And so it looks like they're coming from the current experience to the oldest below. So you want to follow that format when writing. And this is an example that I obtained from Texas A&M that they had on their grants website. Next, we have honors and awards, and it's optional, but it may be beneficial for a related topic that you're getting funding for. So if you have certain awards about certain topics, you want to make sure that you list there. It's optional. Your referee publication and your technical publications is where you have some more space of going beyond those 2 years of listing. But as you can see there, they have the author's name, they have the year, they have the publication, they have the journal, and then they have editions and page numbers there. And that is your bio sketch. Now we're moving on to another document. And as you can see, we have once again the red box that says the USDA has a template. For the current and pending, it also is a required document by senior and key personnel. It includes the project director, the co-project directors, senior associates, professional personnel, including sub-awardee personnel. The form template can be located on the NIFA website, that we highly advise that you use that website. these are reviewed by the project director of the grant that you're applying for, as well as the project director of your actual grant that you're submitting, to make sure that people are not overcommitting themselves, make sure you're not duplicating funding, making sure you're not overlapping projects. So they do pay close attention to that. And also when you submit this form pre-award, when you get ready to, when you're awarded the grant, post-award, they do ask for you to update it, which also means moving that grant that you were just awarded up. So for the last few grants that I've submitted to the USDA, I've been asked to update that form. And so the second time I was kind of ready, I said, okay, they're going to tell me to update it. So making sure that you be ready to update it. So the information in this form is used for budget review to verify the amount of salary requested and to use your make sure are used as matching does not exceed the time commitment stated on the project. So when you are awarded a grant that you applied for, the program leader, like I said, does ask for you to update it in your post-award. So you want to pay close attention to that. So an example of your current and pending, and I did a blank template here, but it has your name or name of all projects. And so I've done a mixture of my USDA, some NSFs I've been on, some local ones. I list everything because I want to make sure that I'm being very clear with the program director of the grant of who I am and what I'm doing. So you're going to list the PD as first, and then everybody else that's on the grant. What I do there too is I may highlight me to show where I am in that listing. Next, you'll put the supporting agency and the agency of awarded and active proposal, or if you have a proposal number, listing that as well. You put the total amount in dollar signs, your effective and expiration date, so how long will this project last? And then this is the part that catches people all the time, is your time commitment. What the special program director is looking for on here is that you're not exceeding 100%. If there's some way that they can find an inclination that you are, then that may put you at risk of them not awarding you with the funding because they're going to say you're overcommitted. So making sure that you're very cognizant of your time commitment, and that kind of shows up with the grants that you have and what type of time you've set aside for it. And then also putting the title of the project there. Keeping this up to date. This is one of those templates that'll go with you forever. Once you get your first one, then you just keep going with it. And as your grants kind of end, you roll them off as you go. You do want to list, you need to have a list of the active proposals, and then you also need a list of pending. So what I do when I have this form, and I'm gonna fuss like I fuss with my students, you highlight that whole row, you tell it to insert a row, and then you do all your active ones. And then the pending should be any proposal that you have submitted, excluding this proposal that you're submitting. So the proposal that you're currently submitting should be on that pending list as well. And then that'll help you when you need to switch it over to active. All right, so our last form that we're going to talk about today that also has one of those nifty USDA template is conflict of interest. For conflict of interest, once again, and y'all gonna say, you say this every time when you talk about this, because I want to remind you, all of the senior and key personnels, which includes your project directors, co-project directors, senior associate, or professional personnel, including sub-awardee personnel, have to fill out these forms. This form is located on the website that we'll be providing to you. The Office of Scientific Quality Review uses the conflict of interest list to determine which individuals cannot peer review a project due to their relationships with one or more scientists assigned to the project. This should also be updated regularly and keep as you keep getting more various collaborators on projects and everything else. So this is a form that once you start it, then you're just updating it after that. An example is shown here. So this is that template that you'll see. So starting off with putting your name, and then down below, you'll put your full names of your colleagues that you work with, and I'm going to talk about it above who they are. You will want to then list if they're a co-author, collaborator, advisee, advisors, or if there's other reasons that there's a conflict of interest, they have a space there for other to specify the nature. You want to be as transparent as possible for things. I don't know what happens if somebody does something against conflict of interest. I just assume that you're gonna get in big trouble if they find out about a conflict of interest. So I am truthful about who is on my list. And so as I talked about before, who are you listing on this list? So you want to list your the co-authors, collaborators, advisees in alphabetical by last name, with last name first, and then full name after. You're listing your co-authors of publications for the past 3 years, your collaborators on projects within the past 3 years, all theses or postdoctoral advisors, advisees, and all persons in your field who you have consulting, financial arrangements, or any other conflict of interest with. You can indicate your relationship by putting just that X below. So well, and they don't give a level on advisors, advisees, but on that part of my list, they're never coming off. So all my PhD, all my masters, all of my advisees are going to stay on my list. I think you have some leniency here with the past 3 years as far as some of your co-authors and collaborators, but if you work with them once, you're not done working with them. So my list is long, and I just look at it, breathe hard, and just figure out what I'm going to do. Oftentimes, I do write them on regular Excel, and then use the function on regular Excel to alphabetize them for me and not try to do it myself, because they can make your head hurt. So utilizing certain functions such as that in Excel to get them in the order that they want them in. And then our final item we're going to talk about is statement of work. Unlike our other documents, this one don't have a template. So because it can look different at any time, so and for different instances, but it is required by all project directors, senior associates, professional personnel, and that included the sub-awardees. It's often used in your grant budget of your grants. So when people submit their budgets for grants, they also have to submit the statement of work. So this document enables a clear understanding of the work needed for the project. It includes essential and technical requirements for this effort, and it includes standards to determine whether it has been met. It has a complete and detailed explanation of proposed activities, typically includes project goals, specific aims, methodology, and investigators' responsibilities for agreement. Sometimes they can include pricing information, a schedule of deliverables if applicable. In this document, you ensure that you meet with the PD, so project directors, and make sure that you have a clear understanding of your role and what is needed for the project. So the statement of work shouldn't be no longer than a paragraph. I've seen some people's be at least a page, depending on the type of work that they're doing. The example that I'm going to show you today, my colleague just did a paragraph. And so as I mentioned before, typically there's no template that the government has given us, but your university might have a template that they may want you to follow. So here's an example here, and I tried my best to block out as much as I can of whose this was and who was it. So it starts off saying the person's name, what university they're at, and then they say they're a subcontract recipient from the USDA FSOP project, and this was for one of my FSOP projects that I had for small processors. And so this person would participate in her role um, as evaluator and as co-recipient and program evaluation for us. For her co-investor role in this project, she was leading our evaluation for the project. So she developed our survey instruments. She trained personnel on administrating the survey. She conducted the analysis. She wrote a summary report, and then she'll provide input on the development of resources for our target audience. So, so showing you, how detailed you have to be with what you're planning to do with the projects. I would just say also that, running this by the project director to make sure that they confirm that that's what they want you to do ahead of time before you submit this, because you don't want to get the funding and then figure out, wait, we haven't done everything we said we were going to do. All right, so we're towards the end. My summary here is: do not reinvent the wheel, use the templates. Do not drive yourself crazy. With the conflict of interest, go use Excel and hit sort by last names in alphabetical order. Pay close attention to those page limits. You don't want to go above them because maybe the system could cut you off depending on how much it is allowing to happen, allowing the system to accept. You do want to prepare beforehand and start working on these forms. And like I said, as a part of our writing group this summer, these are some things you can work on. If you're like me, I feel like I don't meet a stranger. It's, hey, how you doing? Next thing you know, can we do a project together? And then I go, oh man, I gotta update my list. So, start working on those things ahead of time. And then you start working on the templates now. So like I said, we can start working on it this summer, but don't wait to the last minute because it can get frustrating trying to keep up with those different forms. So website information, using your phone, you can take down this QR code for our webinars on demand or just our website in general. So the past webinars are listed up there for you to learn more about those. And then we are going into week number 2 of this. So we will be meeting all this week from 2 to 3 Central Standard Time with different topics. So today ends the discussion about forms. We'll go into highlighting novelty and innovation. We have development of a work and research plan. We have the impact of a logic model this week. And then I think we're wrapping up this week with meaningful stakeholders and MSI collaboration. Y'all will get to hear from our colleague Armitra a couple of times this week. And then next week, we just go half a week. So make sure that you continue to come to this webinar and continue to look at our recordings as we continue this process. Once again, we have our summer grant writing accountability group. They're going to happen on Wednesdays to 10 to 1 p.m. Before y'all join today, Dr. Shaw spoke with us about who's going to be in charge. And I got excited. I said, you're leading. Then I said, oh, I'm leading. So, but we all are getting ourselves scheduled and aligned to be there to help support each other throughout the summer with this, with grant writing. So using that QR code, you can sign up on Sign Up Genius for the different dates that we have. And thank you once again for joining our webinar series for today. If you have any questions, please direct them to Dr. Angela Shaw. Her email address is listed there. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Shannon, for doing this webinar on all the various forms. I'll start us off, and please jump into the chat for in the QA section if anybody has any questions. So that's a lot of forms. They take a lot of time. Now, you stated that all of your co-PIs and all of your key personnel have to fill out all those forms. How do you keep yourself organized when everybody needs a bio sketch, everybody needs a pending, and all of that? How do you keep yourself organized?
Do y'all hear me sighing out loud for y'all? I am very blessed with our grand office. And sometimes I try to impress them because I go, we're not going to have this issue again. So as I told y'all on Friday, I have a folder that I call the USDA form folder. And so I put blank templates for those templates that y'all see today. I have blank templates of each of those, and I put it in a folder. We do use a cloud system here at Iowa State, and I tell them, all right, you have signed on. The main thing you need to be working on is getting those forms filled out. And as we continue to process, getting ready for budgets and budget justifications, I keep reminding them, if you hadn't started your USDA forms, start them. And especially if I'm getting ready to write the narrative and stuff, they go, what can I do? I said, work on your forms. And so, and so they probably, I'm laughing at myself, but I know they laugh at me because I just be like, you have to do this. So I know how to go back to some of my old folders and I get them and I drag them over. For some people, I say, we did it last time. Want me to turn your old one back into a Word document and you update them? And they go, yes. And so I do that for them. But I put it back on my team members and then also my grand office. I put them in the folder as well. And then I also tell them a deadline of when they should turn that in. And sometimes I say, when you turn in your budget and your budget justification, that is due at the same time. Even at Iowa State now, we have changed over the grant system that we submit proposals in. And so they say a week out, all of those documents are due. We cannot wait till the day before to turn that in. They will not submit our proposal if we don't have that in, and that includes the budget justification, the statement of work. And so I just throw in there, because we all gonna do it together, those USDA forms.
Well, that's a wonderful advice. And similar to you, I use a folder system, but I also use an Excel sheet where I list all of my co-PIs and I put all the forms across the type. And when I receive them, I put X. So I can go back and I can say, up, Shannon, you're missing X, Y, and Z. But another big point you have is reviewing of them. So making sure that when people give you things, that it's actually in the right format. It is a regular for me to get forms in their older forms, and USDA does update their forms occasionally. So you might need, or they update lengths of time. So the idea of like conflict of interest, 3 years. It used to be 5 years, but now they've upped it to 3 years. So now you have to go back and think, oh, I haven't worked with that person in 5 years, so I have to take them off.
Yeah.
But I love your tip of Excel and utilizing Excel for a lot of those.
Yeah. I had to learn how to work smarter, not harder. And that was something that I could work on. We have a question.
How do you turn your old forms into Word docs?
Oh, when we say old forms, we're saying like often our grant office have us turn everything into a PDF. And so I have Adobe Pro which can allow for me to take a PDF and turn it back into a Word document. And so the person say, well, I turned it into you last time. It's like, say we submitted an FSOP this year and we're going to do it again. And I said, well, do you want me to turn that old form that we turned into a PDF? Do you want me to turn it back into a Word document so you can update it? And that's when they say yes. And so that's when we're talking about turning the old form. And for us, is something they submitted last year so that they don't have to start back over again or search for the old one because I try not to get rid of the Word document one. I may start a folder. I love me a subfolder of these are your Word documents, these are your PDFs. So you just the attention to detail that I do sometimes I get on my own nerves. But sometimes we only have the PDF. And so that's where I'm able to use that system and go back.
We have another question. How are technical publications different from peer-reviewed publications?
I see, and you can help me, Angela. I call the fact sheets technical publications. And so for us that are in extension, what I usually list under my technical publications are my fact sheets that talk about the regulations for the topic that I am in or guidance on measuring of certain analysis for these products. So I call those my technical publications, and then my peer reviews are the ones that I submitted for manuscripts um, to actual journals. And what are other examples of technical, Angela? White papers?
White papers are examples, but now remember, we have a wonderful system that Oregon State has where they actually peer review extension publications. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I do take my extension pubs that have gone through a national peer review, or some universities have a peer review system, and then I will put those into referee journal article category. But for the most part, when we talk about extension pubs, when we talk about curriculum you might have developed, typically that's not peer reviewed. And so we'll put that under technical. The most important thing that Dr. Coleman had mentioned is you want to make sure you put as much relevant to your project. As a reviewer on those panels, we look at those CVs, two pagers, and publications
Mm-hmm.
closely to see what your experience is, because one question we have to answer is, are you the right person or team to complete this work? And if you don't have previous experience with that, then that's a little bit more riskier for USDA to say yes to you than not. So trying to put as much uh, items underneath there that show that your expertise is critical, whether it's workshops and other things like that. Shannon, do
Mm-hmm.
you or Dr. Coleman, do you have anything to add?
No, no, you hit it on the head with that.
Well, another question I have while we wait for some more questions is related to that statement of work. Now, the statement of work you had seemed very detailed with the tasks and all of that. How has that benefited you in post-award time?
I feel like it's benefited me because I now know, what to hold my colleagues accountable for. I think it's also a part of the publication process. I know we have the proposal process. I know that sometimes in our narrative, um, the they ask for a summary of what everybody's going to do. And, one way people can look more in detail about the roles of what everybody's doing is they can look at that statement of work too. So to me, it's always been beneficial for me to with accountability with my colleagues that I'm working with to say, hey, this is what you said you were going to do. Let's make sure that you do it, type thing.
I love accountability. And a lot of times, one thing that you mentioned also is we put in grants and we wait how many months before we might hear an answer. You might
Yeah.
have forgot what you had proposed. I've had to go back to mine and be like, now what did I say I was going to do for that
The
grant?
Now they let us go back and change our current dependent. I'd be like, can we go back and change our statement of work? I changed my mind. I don't know who said I could do all that.
But I love the fact that they do hold us accountable. And
Mhm.
it is a good reflection on yourself to really make sure that when you are doing your current and pending, you really say, do you have the capacity to do this work
Yeah.
that you're proposing? Initially, I think when I was starting out, I used to write a whole lot of them. But if in reality, if all of them were awarded, I would have been up a creek because I did not have enough time or capacity to really do that work and the time commitment to it. And it also gives you leverage for when you are doing your budget justification for your time. Being
Hmm.
realistic with yourself of if you're saying you're doing a curriculum, you're doing publications, you're mentoring a student, all these things in your statement of work, and they're only giving you $10,000,
Yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't
That
equal.
we still have to work on me. I don't do it like I'm supposed to. This is look, y'all gonna learn a lot about us through this process.
Are there any other questions amongst the group?